What it is, what it is, what it is, YouTube. You know what it is. It's your boy, Dom Moose. Alright, so like in the description below, we're to discuss volts, amps, ohms, and watts. And why a DJ needs to understand what these are. So when they do go do a gig, when you do gig, you'll be able to understand the differences. Because there are a lot of differences, similarities, but all four of them equal one thing, and that's electricity. And we're just going to go through that today. All right. Hit it. All right, so it's this is a standard unit. The standard units of measurements are established by the official organization that is tasked with the standardization of international weights and measurements, ensuring that the entire world uses the same standards of weights and measurements. The French organization called the BIDPM, or like I just said, translates to English as the International Bureau of Weights and Measurements. The definition on this page are adopted from the official definitions, which can be found at the BIPM's website, International Systems and Units, or SI. Reference to links are included in each defined term, which refer to information provided by the BIPM. Okay, so it says, and then it just says, please contact the web administrator in a timely manner if you find this information inaccurate. But I did the research on each thing, and it's all 100% right on time. Okay, so what is a volt? A volt is a unit of electrical potential known as electromotive force and represents the potential difference between 2 points of a conducting wire carrying consistent current of 1 ampere, with the power distributed between the 2 points is equal to 1 watt. Standard another way, a potential of 1 volt appearance across the resistance of 1 ohm, and the current is of 1 ampere flows through the resistance. So volts can be expressed in the SI base units thusly. 1 volt equals 1 kg times 2 times multiply 2 times subtract 3 times add 1 kilogram meters per square cubic per ampere, or formula SI expressed for voltage. Excuse me. What is voltage? Voltage is a potential and energy to move the analytical and water pressure. The analogies of water pressure, basically. The characteristics of the voltage are that of the water flowing through pipes. So, just as water flows through pipes, that's how electrical flows through the wires above you. That's what that's trying to tell us, which is sometimes used to explain electricity currents by comparing them to closed system of water system filled pipes or water circuits. This is pressured by a pump, referred to images below, the visual how voltage and electrical current works. Okay, like I was telling you, once the power is made, it's pushed along a wire, and as it goes through the wire, it goes through transformers, or it goes through different subdivisions or different substations, and that substation takes the power and pushes it and makes it, it doesn't take away, but it just makes it the same voltage, and it sends it to the next station, and then the next station, and then the next station, and then finally it gets to your neighborhood. Then it goes through a transformer, then it goes to your house, and then it goes to your electrical cord, and then it goes to your system. So that's basically how the flow of voltage works. It says current is the rate of flow and is measured upon amps. Ohms is a measurement of resistance and is analogies to the water pipe system size. Current is proportionally to the diameter of the pipe or the amount of water flowing at the pressure. Then it says voltage is an expression of available energy per unit charged with diverse and electrical current around. The closed circuit is a direct current, DC. Electrical current increasing the resistance, comparable to decreasing the pipe size, the water circuit, the properly discrete, and current. or water flow in the water circuit, which is driven through the circuits by voltage and is comparable to the hydraulic pressure in a water circuit. Okay, and then it says the relationship between voltage and current is defined in ohmic devices like resistors. By Ohm's law is an analogous of a hygienic Plislulic equation, and both are linear models reflecting flux and potential to their representative systems. Electrical current is a rate of flow measured in amps, ohms, and is measured in resistance, and it is comparable to the water pipe size. Okay. The reasoning behind all of this is to give a DJ an understanding that when you get a circuit, when you plug in, you check out your circuit. Another device you're going to have to get is the device to determine voltage of your equipment. And how this works is you plug your system. You don't plug the thing into the wall. You can hold it in your hand, and you can plug it into your system, and it'll tell you how many volts that how many amps. It's an amperage to tell you how many amps you're pulling. So when you do go get your black wire, you're getting the right size, because each size is comparable to how many amps you're pulling. Amperage is everything. The volts, that's the like it says, that's the resistance. But let's get into the amps, because that's next. An amp, short for ampere, is a unit of electrical current, which is SI defined in terms of the other base units by measuring the electromagnetic forces between electrical conductors carrying electrical circuits. The ampere is the consistent current which If maintained in two straight parallel conductors to a finite length and negotiable circular cross-section, and placed at 1 meter apart in a vacuum, would produce between these conductors a force of 2 times 10 minus 7 neutrons per minute meter of length. Okay. A lot of DJs aren't familiar with the old-time TVs. A lot of us old cats are, so we know. In a TV, at one time, they had what they called vacuum-sealed tubes. They ranged in sizes, and what they did was they looked like a light bulb, and they had the same characteristics of a light bulb, but down on the bottom of it was like a circuit board. And what they did was they plugged that circuit board into a certain part of the TV, and it did different functions. One was contrast, one was color, one was black and white. And then they had the picture tube. The picture tube went out in your TV. You had to get it replaced. It was cheaper to replace the tube than replace the TV at the time. So that's just a little nugget truth. Okay. All right. So what is amperage? Amperage is the strength of current of electricity impressed by the amperes. What is ohms? An ohm is a unit of electricity circuit that is defined as the electrical resistance between 2 points of conductor. When consistently potential difference of 1 volt applied to these points, procedures in the conductor or current of 1 ampere. The conductor not being the seat of electromotive force. An ohm is expressed as formula of ohm. And this is the formula of ohm. What is a watt? I know we're getting back into this. No, we're not. We're finally getting into the watts. This is the fourth one. It says a watt is a measurement of power. 1 watt is the rate of which work is done from 1 ampere of current flows through the electrical potential device of 1 volt. A watt can be expressed as formula of watt. How do all these terms relate to solar power? It's important to know the terms and formulas on this page because they're helpful in calculating the amount of power and the size of the solar power system, whether it be off-grid systems or one that is grid connected. Now, let's per se that we need to know these differences because our equipment that we use as being a DJ, you heard what it says. It said, how do all these relate to DJ's equipment? Let's just say it that way. It is important to know the terms and formulas on this page because they're helpful in calculating the amount of power and the size of the equipment, whether it's off-grid or on or is grid connected. AC/DC basically. There's also a formula in power, and that formula P is power measured in watts, I is current measured in amperes, and V is potential differences or voltage drop across the component. Measuring in volts. A lot of times this is what's displayed as watts equals volts times amps, or watts equals volts multiplied by amps. Let's reorder the formula for an example. And down here they have an example. They have three different examples. The first example is watt equals volt times amp. The second example is voltage equals wattage divided by amperage. And the third one is amperage equals watts divided by volts. This example will show you how and why higher DC voltage is best in large solar systems. Let's say that there's 1,000 watts of load to run. This equals to 83.3 amps or 12 volts. 41.6 amps equals 24 volts. 20.8 amps at 48 volts. Then it says 8.3 amps at 120 volts. And then 4.1 amps at 240. Knowing how much current is flowing through your load is important for section of correct wire. We take the distance into consideration current and voltage loss and identities we don't want to expect, but 3%. All right. So voltage loss in the other half of the circulation is current. You need a larger wire to move more current. If you have chosen the higher voltage is best. Okay. So right there is telling me that when I run a proper thick wire, the thicker the wire, the better off I'm going to feel, and my equipment's going to turn out to be better. So what this is meaning is basically, like I said in a couple videos before, 12 gauge wire is the best gauge that we have to have. I recommend that if you're running any kind of subwoofer or any kind of DJ setup, the further away from the setup, like we've discussed, the further away from the setup, the more extension cord and the thicker the extension cord needs to be. So we will just say it like this. I read two things that I read the last time is that you set your system up. You have to get your proper voltage and proper wattage. Everything has to match. But if you go with a sub, and my friend DJ Phoenix, he had a sub, and he blew the sub because he didn't have the proper wiring, and he did not check the circuit that he was plugged into or the outlet, and he blew the sub. So it's very important to know these things and the facts, because when you get this knowledge, you understand that what your amperage is, your voltages, your ohms are, and your wattage. Once you get all four of those in line with your system, and you need to know exactly what you're pulling on everything that you have. And the best bet is there's a device, and all you have to do is plug it in, and it'll tell you. I'll leave a link below so you can check that device out. The device is very important to have. I don't have one, and I should. They're like, I think, $16, or they're $9 to $16. They're not expensive, but they're very important to have as a DJ. I'm basically not going to get into the mathematics of this, but I just wanted to I want to clarify that I'm no genius on this stuff. I'm just like you. I'm a normal DJ, but I want to have a better idea, better understanding of what I do. Right now we're in the middle of this pandemic, so this is the perfect time for us to butter up and equip and be ready for whenever this thing gets over, because we are going to get over it. I'm no telling how long. The mask thing might be for a long period of time, so whatever that does, anyway, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Ring my bell for more notifications for videos like this one and the fifth and final installment of electrical, which would be the next one, which would be basically plugging in and checking out. So that hope this video helped. Hit the like button if you like what you hear. If you didn't like what you hear, go ahead and hit dislike button. And one more thing before I close. This is better than G.I. Joe's PSAs, I think. Comfort is death. Be proud but never satisfied. There is always room for improvement. That's 365 quotes. Peace.
There's a moose on the loose. There's a moose on the loose.